User scripts to solve bugs. Why would you ever do such a thing? Imagine for your company if you found the right software solution for your team and you went through all of the rigorous testing to make sure its feature set worked wonderfully for you. You licensed it, you set it up for everyone on their workstations, and you went to town. And then, several months down the line, 6 months or so, you encounter bugs. How can you solve this? The first thing that you'd actually want to do is to uh, be the good citizen and report it to the software vendor and then cross your fingers. But that doesn't always work out. Your priority might not be their priority. What you perceive as a bug may not be what they perceive as a bug. Your ability to communicate uh, that particular bad behavior in the software may not be reaching the right people's ears, or maybe they just do not see what you're talking about as impacting others when it really does. So, what to do then? Well, that's what today's presentation is about. Is not about the building on of new features or enhancement of Vue. Today is all about this right here, which is fixing bugs which the software company will not through a user script. We're going to do something similar to what we've shown before, dealing with electronic medical records software. You have a medical practice with a provider, and you have patients, and you schedule appointments for those patients to come in for an exam. And we're going to walk you through 5 scenarios where you'll actually see bugs at play, and we're going to try to tackle them and write the wrong behavior the JavaScript way. Let's start out with a type of issue I call a billing leak, where for every exam you have to enter in and record for the patient that day which procedures you actually performed in-house. And in this case, we have a bug in the software where there's 2 different ways to go ahead and log that particular order. And if you pick the wrong way, it's not actually going to be attached to that exam itself. Absurdly enough, it's going to just be detached and will never be seen in the billing of that particular visit, including the claim. So let's take a peek here and see what I'm talking about. We have this patient here, Tina Test, who's coming in for a visit. We're actually inside of their exam, and if I were to use this purple hamburger menu that's always available throughout use of the software to simply create an order group and add onto that patient the EKG that we performed that day, I would go in here and type EKG and pick the electrocardiogram point of care test. And it's common sense that any point of care test for the day should be registered to that exam, and furthermore it should be reaching the billing. So now that we've done that, we can even go ahead and just sign the order, and we think we've done the right thing. But the problem is this: if I am to go back into the appointment itself and walk my way into the billing tab, I can see here's my billing tab for the day. I should expect to see the exam and this EKG that I've added. And I could scroll down here and we see nothing. There's no EKG recorded here. So this is a bug. I mean, this administered procedure is not going to reach the payers of this particular patient for this day. So the patient is going to lose 2 things. They're going to lose, number one, the knowledge that this particular procedure took place. And mind you, it could be preventative medicine. The insurance has every right to know about the diagnosis and about the procedures that were administered for the patient. And in many cases, it could be something that's preventative care. And secondly, the insurance is not going to see uh, that this should be actually reimbursed to the provider. So by having ordered it this way through this purple hamburger menu, we've inadvertently lost track of the exam. So how to fix this? What we can do instead, we're going to uh, come into the actual version of the software that contains the user script. And when um, the clinical person clicks on that second alternative way of creating the order, instead of them being sent to a place where they'd be creating a detached order, we're going to make sure that we're doing it the right way and registering that procedure to the visit that day. So here we go here. You can see from this here in the upper right hand corner, we've got two of these user scripts activated. They sense that we're on the right type of page. And I'll go ahead and click on the exam. We're going to go ahead, add it the exact same way, but what you're going to see is the user script's going to change not only the presentation of the options under that menu, preserving its look and feel, but it's going to take us to the right place and into the chart where we'll actually add the order where it will count. So here we are here. I click on this. You can see there's now the phrasing has been changed to add the order to the encounter. We're no longer wanting to make this detached type of order. We want it to be officially part of the appointment. And as soon as we click on it, it's going to navigate us through with highlights here to the assessment and plan section of the exam, where we should probably be adding the order in the first place. So doing it so this way, following the prompt, we'll go ahead and do exactly what we did the first time, but no, now we're creating a point of care test inside of the exam itself. And we can see as soon as I've signed the orders, I can go over to the same billing tab section. And now it's more like we expected. We expected to see the actual electrocardiogram and its CPT code ready, 93,000. It's ready to go off to the insurance companies with the claim. So that's what I call a billing leak, where the UI is facilitating the user to enter an order, but little to that user's knowledge, and certainly not communicated by the UI itself. This is not adding it in any way that gets recorded for the encounter, so it's getting lost. So all of those get lost. This is a real problem that this practice had, where the practice would run a report of the orders that took place that year. Say, let's look at all the EKGs, and a certain number would come up as recorded as orders administered, but that didn't match the number of EKGs that went out on the billing that year. It was a very, very different number. So dozens of these procedures of each class were getting, while they're getting performed and they're getting recorded in the EMR, ironically, the EMR was never passing those over to the insurance company. So you basically had a lot of out-of-pocket charges happened, and furthermore, the insurance company never learned that these procedures took place for the patients. So the second one of these bugs that we're interested to fix is another type of leak that I would call a memory leak. In this case, same scenario, we have the need to create an order for a patient, and to our surprise, when we first start creating the order, that order is saved before we've populated it with anything. I'll show it to you right here. We have a patient here called Rachel test, and we'll do the same thing. We'll come over here, create an order group for this patient. And now that we're in here, much like you saw in the previous workflow, let's pretend we were called away, we're called into the room, we had an emergency phone call, we just didn't get any farther than this, where we're just ready to create an order group. Nothing has been filled in, no diagnosis, no orders. What should not happen is that this empty order has been created and added. It's almost like it shouldn't start, it shouldn't be defined until this order has data inside of it. It's just right now something to think about doing. But to everyone's surprise, I'll show you what happens. Here we are. Let's say I got called away. Let's say that the browser window accidentally closed, or anything like that. That order is created. And now if we go into the chart itself, we'll see here, I'll show it to you. This order was created here, and it's just sitting here. And this isn't the only one. For many patients, these order groups, these empty order groups with nothing in them, are populating the patient's history. And when this happens, as you can see here, I have to scroll by lots and lots of nothings to get to finally the meat of the matter, which would be orders that actually happen. So the signal to noise ratio, because of this leak, is very low in the chart. So you can understand how it would make looking at this history less useful to us, and more of a burden to try to dig and find exactly what happened. So we'd like to fix this. So much like I mentioned earlier, the right thing to do is to report this to the software vendor, and hopefully they'll do something about it. You're not doing it just for yourself. Hopefully you're a good neighbor. You know that there are other, this is impacting clearly more than just us. There, all these practices under this software could be impacted. So that's what I did. Here we go. Inside of this email, I wrote to what we call our client manager, whatever it's called. It's there's always a customer success manager, and I mentioned, hey, I just want to report to you a bug. Here's the severity. I'm a software person, so I can kind of figure this out, and you want to make sure that it's not obviously regarded as very low level. This bug is creating a leak in your database and into all the patient's charts. It appears to impact all of your customers. And then I explain exactly how this takes place. The create order group module is adding to the database just when you visit the page and do nothing more. Suggest that it should implement a check for content guard before doing a post. But what actually takes place instead is that the page in question that I showed you doesn't do the post when you filled in something. It does the post immediately upon loading the page. A page load should probably never do a post. It's a GET request of some sort, but there's no post here. But in this case, it is doing that. So I'm trying to be as specific as possible to aid in the fix, if at all it could happen. And the last things I do is to, provide the steps to reproduce and to describe the impact that it's creating potentially hundreds of thousands of empty order groups. And it's polluting, making it hard for the clinical user to distinguish the real orders from vacant false ones. So I think enough has been said there. And then there are two steps that would probably need to happen in order to rectify this. One would be to remove this module's harmful save on nothing behavior. And the second one would be for our practice. We've got hundreds of patients, and with potentially dozens of these each, we'd like a stored procedure, like a SQL stored procedure, to go ahead and remove all these empty order groups. Thank you for your assistance. So one would hope that this gets the job done, and the the problem well described gets into the right hands and you end up with a fix within a month or so. But that's not what happened. Instead, if I scroll here, you can see the response from this person, hello, Tony, thank you for your detailed email description. This is intended functionality. When a user clicks the create order group, Athena will create the template for the patient order and will remain there and can always be deleted thereafter. So in our case, we're not able to get our point across that this is a legitimate bug of some sort and that it's actually harmfully impacting many a customer. So the only recourse is to either allow your staff to continue to make this mistake, which isn't really theirs, or try to intercept it through code and stop this from ever happening again. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to tackle both of those issues. There's the issue of the cleanup, and then there's the issue of preventing an empty order group from being persisted in the patient's chart. So let's go ahead and go back to the this patient of ours, and we'll do the second one first. I'll show you what we did to make it easy for the clinical team to do their own cleanup, because doing SQL through userscript is not going to happen. So when the clinical person opens up the list of these order groups, we're going to highlight in here through the user script when they're empty, and we're also going to expand them. You'll notice when you click on them, the default behavior was these order groups would be closed like this, making it very hard to figure out, like this one here, what's inside of it. So the user script automatically opens them all up when they're empty and lets you know. And is also at the top keeping a nice little tally here. Again, we'd love to just be able to delete these on our own, but the second best thing is to let the clinical team know, especially somebody recording the intakes, that these have to happen. And this is sort of like a lazily loading list here. The more I scroll down, more fetches happen, and when more fetches happen, we see even more of these empty order groups, and we need to sense the new ones that have been dynamically loaded and mark them up very similarly there. So that's what we've done. So after that, it's very easy for a clinical person to come in here, go ahead into the edit order group, and delete it. So a cleanup is possible in a relatively short amount of time. Now, the second thing we'd like to do is automatically delete the orders that are empty. So when somebody, like I said before, clicks away, or they get called away for a second, we'd like upon page load for the user script to sense there's not a diagnosis in this, there's not an order in it. This is basically an empty low value, nothing burger of an order group, and we need to do something about it. So I'll show that to you here. Here we are creating an order group, and we're not going to put anything in it. We're kind of getting called away. So as soon as I do something like click on the magnifying glass to navigate me elsewhere, or click on one of these headings and pull myself through a menu item somewhere else, the page is going to sense, yes, through the user script, I am on the order group page, and if I don't find a diagnosis or order in here, I'm just going to automatically delete it. So you'll notice up here in the right hand corner, as soon as I click away, it's going to do just that. So I'm clicking on it, and up at the top you see deleted Rachel J. Tests order group. So unlike the software that has not been instrumented for the bug, the one that's instrumented for the bug is going to make it very hard for a person clicking away from an empty order group to find it later in that patient's chart. It won't be there. We're taking care of the bug because the software vendor decided not to. They said, oh, this is by design, this behavior. I'm sure everybody loves, empty order groups getting created and populating the patient's history. It's not causing a problem. Of course it is. So the third example of a bug we have is what I like to call a churn-related bug, where a particular order reaches a very uncomfortable state that makes it very hard for people to recover from. And because of that, the staff gets into this little cyclical action where they're trying to fix it, or they're recreating it and trying again, and a second time and a third time, just trying to get what they want done. The example I have here is very simple. There is inside of this medical record software a powerful feature, but the implementation has bugs. So the feature is this. I, as a provider, it would make sense to me to allow certain people of good repute inside of my practice who work with me to be an ordered delegate. An ordered delegate should have the right on my behalf to sign an order for a particular type of care. And when they do that, they should be able to successfully do it for me rather than me needing to literally sign everyone. In this case, we're talking about medicines, specifically what they call scheduled prescriptions for scheduled drugs. What are scheduled drugs? We're talking about narcotics, sedatives, and things like that. So the behavior should be that I can go in and create the order, but as long as there's a concept here it's important to look at. One is the prescription. Number one, these prescriptions are going to be sent electronically to the patient's pharmacy, but it may be another type of prescription where we're strictly documenting it. For example, if the provider decided to write the patient a paper script, we still need the electronic record to show this. So I'm going to go back to our version of the software without the user script, and we'll check that out. So here we are again with Rachel, and I'm in here inside of an empty order group. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one fresh. And in this case, I'm going to create a order for Xanax. Again, this is a controlled substance. And just for the sake of this exercise, I'm just going to make it a single tablet. I should be able to sign this order in certain circumstances. But in this case, what's going on is that by signing this, I'm going to be in a pickle because I'm not a provider. The software does this. If I look at the document's history line by line, I see here that the order itself was rerouted via paper here. So this means here that it's been demoted. That's not what we want, so we can't recover from this. So imagine if you're the prescriber, someone working for us created the order and accidentally signed it in the way it is, which is obviously I have a scheduled drug here. I should be able to create it, but I shouldn't be able to sign it. We really need the actual provider to sign this. Now we've entered this kind of awkward state, and no one knows how to recover from this so that the provider can sign it. I'm going to show you now what the provider or staff have to do to actually fix this up. At the bottom here, if we were just playing along with the, as is off the shelf version of the software, if I have options here for actions, but these actions are all wrong. The submission was not completed. It was not submitted by a paper. I need to go ahead and recover from this, so I have to know enough to mark this as an error identified, send it back to review, and then come in here and then try to recover here, and maybe I can. This is too much. And sure enough, it's no surprise when you do this, you have a staff that's completely disoriented and this was happening all the time. With well intentions, good intentions, the clinical worker created the script, but they ended up leaving it in this bad state and have to enter this process of churn to try to fix this. So sometimes they would just create it a second time or a third time, and it was just causing a big mess. What the software should intend to do is to say, I can go ahead and sign it, but only on the condition that we're dealing with a one for documentation only. So let's implement these corrections to the bad behavior, these bug fixes through the user script. I'm going to go back now to our patient, who is this Rachel Test, and enter her chart. And here we are inside of the user script again, which is sensing that this is the correct page to act upon. And I'm going to create an order for Rachel, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create the Xanax as it was the first time. Click on it, write in the Xanax, don't forget to add the quantity. And again, the behavior here should be, I should be able to create it no matter who I am in the office, but I should only be able to sign it if it's for documentation purposes only. If it's to be sent electronically, we need the physician to do it. So that's what we have here. You notice in the upper right-hand corner here, we have this button here grayed out to sign the orders. So I'm not able to sign it. It's forbidden from me, unlike in the first condition, because I want to protect the user from demoting accidentally the prescription to this paper status that nobody can recover correctly from. But if this had been a script that I just want to record that it happened, I should be able to sign it. And sure enough, that's what happens here. So here's the documentation only box, which indicates that what I'm describing here is strictly a recording of what took place and not to go anywhere. And as soon as I click this, you'll notice that the button to sign has now become enabled. Now I have the authorization to sign it. Similarly, if I had if this order set was made of several different medications, the rule should be fairly simple. I should only be able to sign the order set if any scheduled medications that are inside of it are marked for documentation only. So here we have a case of a Xanax, and we have this Synthroid. And as soon as I have the full quantity there, you'll notice I can sign both of them. But if this order batch has the Xanax that's also meant to go directly to the pharmacy, this becomes grayed out again. By having intercepted the events here and creating the prescription order and making sure that the business logic is met correctly, we're able to comply with the laws of the state, and we're also making sure that clinical assistants don't get stuck because of the botched implementation of this order delegation feature here. The last example I want to talk about is pretty simple to understand and follow. We have what we call a quick view, which has demographics of the patient, which are typically updated when the patient is in a check-in. And there is a field here for driver's license and for the expiration date. Well, sometimes the form validation inside of the software is a little too ambitious. And in this case, the software is literally forbidding you from actually saving off your information if the expiration date is expired. But as we know, that's a legitimate state. A patient could indeed have a driver's license that is expired. We'd like the patient to know, or rather the staff to know, that they should collect a new one, but we shouldn't forbid the saving of data just because of that. So I'm going to show you the example of that going on here for our patient again, Rachel. Here we are in the software that, let's see with this red banner, that doesn't have the user script at play. And you can see that the patient has a 2002 date on their driver's license expiration, which is a long time ago. And let's say we came in and we had edited here the patient's address. They gave us some new information about where they lived, and then we go to save off. What should happen is it should just allow the save to take place, providing there's no any formatting issues. But instead, what we see when we go ahead and in the lower left-hand corner hit the save is that we're prompted by this annoying pop-up alert that says, hey, too bad for you. The driver's license expiration should be a future date. And guess what? The reception person checking in the patient, updating their demographics, is stuck. They're not able to move forward. They're not even able to save the new address of the patient because of this bad form validation that's going on, which is a bug. This is a bug. You should be able to save off your work. So what we'd like to have happen instead is maybe you get a nice reminder to the check-in person that the driver's license is expired, but we shouldn't go overboard and forbid that save from taking place, like is happening here. So let's go ahead and check out what the user script's going to do for us in this case. We have the user script at play. This is commonly what we end up doing is a highlighting here of fields that matter, and we want to provide a warning. So let's say in the same instance, we came to edit the address of the patient, or we edited the phone number. We should be able to go ahead and press save here. So I'm going to do that and watch the difference in the behavior. We're going to need to intercept the form validation here. And there is legitimate field form field validation logic that is in their code. But in the event that the only problem with the form validation is the date being in the past, that should not stop the save from happening, but everything else should. For example, format maybe have a couple of slashes next to each other in the date. That shouldn't be allowed. So let's go ahead and hit the save button, and you'll see what happens is that when I do so, the actual page scrolls down a little bit to the section in question, and we get a prompt just like the look and feel of the actual software, but we're not forbidding the save from taking place. It just simply says, listen, the expiration date is passed, please press save again, and then if you can, scan in a new card and update the home address. So in our case, it's also turning this section red here to let them know that there's a problem. Let's go ahead and assume that we want to save off another date in the past, 2005. Can we go ahead now and indeed save our new demographic information for this patient? Let's go ahead and try it with the user script. And see, the form validation is working because I accidentally have a slash still there. And now we hit it. And we can reload the quick view. Unfortunately, this is the way they handle it. And sure enough, we've saved it off. We've today taken a look at 5 different types of incorrect behavior we found in a piece of software that we've licensed. And when the best practice alternative of reporting the issue to the software vendor doesn't go anywhere, not leading to any sort of fix, you have an option of giving up on the software, or you have an option of making adjustments on your team, but that's not always the best thing to do. For example, in this case here, where we were looking at the expiration date, the only way that the staff member has been able to save the new phone number is to enter fake information down here. So we don't want that to happen, but the software bug is encouraging this type of bad behavior, which is to enter false information just to get by, just to hack the code. And what happens then is that the actual expiration date is not legitimate. It's been doctored just to be able to save off information. Well, some of this information is important to have right. When we have a expiration date that has passed, the prompt to rescan in the driver's license is an encouragement to update. Why is this? Or update the address. The driver's license is a source of truth. So when we have a new license, we're able to confirm with the patient this is different than what we have on file. Oh, yes, I've moved since we last spoke, and this is my new address right on my license. That information is valuable to the practice because for any of their mailings they might have to do, they might have a campaign that they need to send out to their patients. Or, for example, every patient's entitled to get in the mail their statements. Maybe they have a past amount due, and we want to make sure that this is fixing it. But making the staff members lie about data just to be able to get the work done is kind of messing this whole process up. So the user script that we've been looking at today has been solving different types of bugs, like the entering of false information as being a necessity to get by, billing leaks where procedures that were legitimately administered at the practice for that user are not showing up in the final record of that encounter or in the billing of or in the reimbursement of that particular visit. We've looked at memory leaks where opening up of a page to create an order is enough to accidentally create the order and pollute the patient's history with empty order groups that never were filled and are basically valueless, a lot of noise. And then we looked at the bug where accidental demotion of a prescription order down to paper causes the whole staff to churn away to try to recover from a bad state of the demotion from electronic to paper, and leading the staff to over and over again try to create it a second or a third time and finally get the patient the meds sent to them electronically that was their intention. But a user script can come in if a software vendor won't and actually repair bad behavior for you. But it's a lot easier to do this sometimes than it is to put up with the bad unexpected flow that's happening in the software that may be costing someone at the practice. Maybe it's a customer, maybe it's the physician, maybe it's the worker themselves with a lot of time and or money. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I would strongly consider or rather advocate that you decide to do this for yourself with any software that your team regularly uses, instead of just shrugging your shoulders and losing hope when a software development team or its managers decide to forget about your issue that you found. Why not just fix it yourself? Fix it one time so that it will never happen again for any of the members of your team or your practice. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and please take care. Thanks again. Bye.